Um, Gosh, I've been so nervous for the last 30 minutes. I remember when I was in high school, I was on my school's wrestling team, and before every single match, I would like throw up. It was like, and my head would be spinning, and I don't know why. I mean, AA qualifications haven't really done this to me in a while, but yeah, super nervous tonight. And I think it's because, like that's kind of what my alcoholism does to me. So I have thoughts in my head that, nobody here is going to be able to relate to me. And, I'm just going to be wasting, I guess there's 79 people on here right now. So I'm going to be wasting 78 other people's time. I've got nothing to share. And that's kind of like, I don't know, like even 3.5 years sober, that's kind of like where my alcoholism takes me sometimes. But then I get on and I start sharing and start connecting with other people, and it gets better, hopefully. I'm gonna set a timer for 15 minutes so I don't go on for too long. I want to be respectful of the format here. So Eldon, you met me probably almost a year ago, I think. Which is bizarre to think that we've been, sitting in Zoom meetings for going on a year now. And yeah, I haven't spoken at this meeting, haven't been able to make it in a while, actually. But for those of you who don't know me, I got sober in New York City 3.5 years ago. My sobriety date is June 14th, 2017, which is, interestingly, a sobriety date that I share with my sponsor. Came in the same day. My home group is Miracles on Madison. I've done service there. It's been super helpful to me. So full disclosure, Miracles on Madison is a Cocaine Anonymous meeting, actually. And drugs are a big part of my story, but I want to be respectful to the format as much as possible, and kind of keep it to alcohol as much as possible. But if you guys want to share in drugs, it doesn't bother me. So yeah, I mentioned, as a kid being super nervous before my wrestling matches and throwing up before them. I had as a kid, I had like lots of racing thoughts, and I don't know, there's like a whole nature nurture debate that exists in psychology, but also for me in Alcoholics Anonymous, like, whether we come out this way or whether it comes through some combination of bad parenting and, individualism. I don't really know where my alcoholism comes from. I'm not sure how important it is to me to figure that out. But I will say I definitely have it. And what that means is, to me, my alcoholism is that drugs and alcohol affect me in really adverse ways, in ways that they don't affect, other people, like my girlfriend, who's next door. And they fundamentally change me as a person, whether I'm actively loaded or not. When I'm not sober, and that's like when I'm not doing AA, or when I'm drinking and drugging, even if I'm not like immediately loaded at the time, I'm fundamentally changed as a person. And I've the beautiful thing about AA is, and you come to enough meetings, you come on here every night, you hear about people's lives like dramatically changing after they get sober. And that was the case for me too. And it's been beautiful for me to see, like, this is kind of why I love going to so many meetings. Seeing that transformation happen is just like, and seeing like, the way that these people's lives change and like the way that they view the world change is just so beautiful. And, for me personally, I'm able to relate to a lot of that too. So just running through it really quickly, I grew up in northern New Jersey, was kind of one of the only Asian kids in town. My folks didn't really do a great job of integrating into sort of the rest of the town, and neither did I. I was either bullied or was the bully a lot when I was a kid. But anyways, I had my first drink when I was 14. I was going into high school and knew that, there'd be lots of parties and all that. So a couple friends and I got together in his basement one night and cracked open a bottle of his sister's, his sister had a bottle of vodka, and we finished it that night. I believe I passed out. Don't remember how I got, actually, I didn't get home that night. I just spent the night there. And like I said earlier, like that experience fundamentally changed me. It was a spiritual experience at the time. And subsequently, every time I tried a new drug, that was like a new spiritual experience for me that like fundamentally changed my consciousness and fundamentally changed how I viewed the world, whether I knew it at the time or not. My drinking continued through high school. I was largely a binge drinker in high school. Like I said, I was part of the wrestling team. I also played on the football team. So it was kind of like, it was not really taboo of me to be drinking as much as I did. It got to be a little bit more unusual when I got to college. And then also, mental health issues have kind of like followed me for what feels like most of my life. Believe it or not, as a junior in high school, they found one of my suicide notes, and that was like not really a part of my life before I started drinking. And this is only now, like, and also I was obviously a lot younger too, but this is now in retrospect at 3.5 years sober, things are starting to clear up a little bit. I'm able to like share my story and see kind of where I came from. As much fun as I had drinking and drugging, during that period of my life, I just sort of viewed the world as like a horrible place. And I viewed life as just like this like real painful experience. And that sort of manifested in kind of the relationships that I had. Like I didn't really care a lot about other people. It manifested in sort of the way that I spent my time. I spent a lot of time reading like just existential literature and like trying to figure out like ways to see the world in a more positive light, but just couldn't. And spirituality wasn't really a big part of my life back then. I was really self-centered and also just really like a lonely person. So anyways, yeah, fast forward, I got to college, I experimented with various drugs. I could probably go on for hours talking about how each one specifically affected me. But just sort of for the purposes of, brevity, I'll say that I describe my college experience as being like a really stunted, really painful one that I wouldn't really wish upon anybody else. I mentioned the suicide note that sort of came up in high school. That became like a daily, so like suicidal ideology became sort of like a daily part of my life for years. I mean, so long. And I like to think of myself as a clever person. Like I'd been seeing therapists, psychiatrists. I got into meditation on my own. I was reading all this literature, tried reading the Bible a couple times, like, was on all these different supplements. Like I tried to figure it out on my own. But I wasn't able to see the world in any way other than the way that I did. And the only time that I ever felt better was when I was getting loaded. And my life sort of like revolved around that. And it deteriorated really quickly to the point where I was like living in a car by the end of college. So yeah, it was so painful, and I'm really happy I'm here. Actually, like I said, this isn't a meeting that I come to a lot, but I was so excited hearing all the day counters on here. Like there's 79 people here, which is a lot of people, but it's also like, I mean, that is just a ton of day counters to be on here. And I don't know. I mean, I really wish the best for you guys. I have so much admiration for what you guys are doing right now. And I really sympathize with you through whatever you're going through. I remember how it was for me just before I got sober, and also even in early sobriety, just like thinking that kind of like just like not really seeing like any light in my life. And if you're there, I can totally sympathize with you. I just like to say you are loved, and there is, like, I can fucking tell you 3.5 years into it, like it gets better. Like I fucking guarantee it if you do this. I'm really pulling for you guys. If any of you guys need support, I'll probably drop my number in here later. You can feel free to reach out to me. But like I know, because I've been there. Like it seems like there's just no way out of it, but there is, like there fucking is. I was a hopeless case, and I got better. Oh, and I've got 6 minutes left, so I want to talk a little bit about recovery. And so, yeah, like I said, I got sober 3.5 years ago. My life was just totally blown up. I was here in the city. I didn't even have the car anymore. I had the keys to my parents' an office of theirs. That's where I was sleeping. Just totally fucked. And I was unemployable. I was undateable. Just like my life was fucking over, and I was 22 years old. Yeah, and it wasn't. It was a thing. Like these last 3.5 years have been some of the best years. I mean, there have been like extreme low points too. I broke my back in a 30-foot rock. I fell 30 feet off a rock climbing wall a couple of years ago and broke my back. I was in a motorcycle accident earlier, I guess last year now, last December. So there have definitely been challenges for me in sobriety, but I've had so much more clarity in the program, and having a sponsor and having people to talk to about this stuff has been so instrumental to me in just kind of like processing my world. Because that's like, on my own, I'm just not able to do that. I came in here and I qualified. I said I'm an alcoholic. That covers a lot more than just me responding negatively to alcohol and drugs. I am fundamentally, without AA or without drugs and alcohol, I just don't have a solution to the problems in my life, which is why, you hear at so many meetings, and I used to hate this, like how grateful people are for their meetings. Like they fucking should be. Like it's like being grateful for like a vaccine. Like if we didn't have AA meetings, like as much as like sometimes we don't want to come to these things, like these things literally save your life, and they literally like keep me alive. So like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna say I'm grateful to come to these things, as much as I don't want to go to them sometimes. But on recovery, I worked the 12 steps really slowly. I got stuck on my 4th step. I stopped going to meetings for a little bit a year in, which was a really bad idea. It was a great reminder to me, actually, of how important, how important it is to properly work the 1st step and really fundamentally understand that I'm powerless over alcohol, and that my life is unmanageable, without either alcohol or AA or a spiritual solution. So I went right back to the state where I was just describing. I was in just before I got sober, and wasn't paying attention when I was climbing one day and fell 30 feet, was stuck in the ICU for a week, and finished my 4th step there and moved on with the rest of the steps. So with young people's AA and just with young people's meetings in general, I had a lot of fear actually around going to like young people's meetings when I was new. In fact, I had a lot of fear over many things in my first year. My first year, actually, I pretty much exclusively went to a 7:15 a.m. morning meeting with like retired people, and that kind of got me through it. It's one of the things I love about AA is like you can find kind of groups for everything, and you really can find, like if you have alcoholism and you're trying to stop, like not drink anymore, like you'll find what you're looking for somewhere in AA. Like I guarantee it. Yeah, I got really involved with Young People's AA last year. I went to my first convention, which I've been really nostalgic about recently. I can like sort of viscerally remember being at certain conventions. I actually got onto the bid committee here in Brooklyn, New York, which was just this massive service commitment I had, and I don't know, I got to learn so much about like kind of the nitty gritty of how like Young People's AA works, and specifically like how conventions work. And it was a great experience. Like every service commitment I've had, besides like, like fundamentally they've kept me sober through all this, which is like more than I could already ask for. But even like the cherry on top is that they've introduced me to so many new people and have expanded my life in like really meaningful ways. And what I mean by that is not just like, not only do I have friends that have like really seen me at like certain low points and like really understand kind of like the nitty gritty of me. I'm able to see other people in like so much more of a complex and like compassionate way because of the oftentimes painful service I've done in AA. So I highly recommend it. Yeah, I've got a minute left. I want to talk about kind of like practices I've been doing in quarantine that have helped keep me sane through all this. Connecting with my higher power. I know I didn't really get to it in my lead, but fundamentally, I think one of the big shifts in AA was me like coming to accept the higher power and, you know, establishing a relationship with that higher power. And you'll come to work to understand that as you work the steps. But, you know, like actively connecting with that higher power has become a much larger priority of mine in quarantine. So I've added prayer to my routine. So prayer was always really difficult for me. For me, it's just in the morning, I physically write out the Serenity Prayer. And then I also read, it's actually part of Al-Anon, a Just for Today template, which is super helpful. And it's a great primer on mental health, which I think all of us could use some reinforcing right now. And then I meditate every morning. So that's been really helpful. Another thing I've been doing as far as getting to meetings, I know it can be difficult to consistently make Zoom meetings. My sponsee and I have been kind of trading off on like exploring a new meeting every week, which is a great thing to do. Like it doesn't have to be with a sponsee. You could find like a stranger in this room and basically like grab their number and each of you guys like trade off on like finding a new meeting a week to explore. You know, so my time is up, but I just want to, you know, so Eldon, I want to thank you for having me on here to speak. Sorry if it was discombobulated or web-like, but yeah, like I said at the beginning, I was so nervous before I came on here, but I feel so much better now, and I hope I was able to be helpful for some of you guys. Thanks.